Hi everybody, welcome back to the workshop. Now what we have here is one of my favourite woods. This is Robinia, also known as false acacia and Black Locust, and it is one of the most pretty woods that you'll ever see. We are very lucky to have managed to acquire a beautiful, quite a large burl piece. Now I did actually put a picture of this on the community section a few days ago with it stood next to another piece which arrived on the same day. A few of you have been commenting on this picture because the other piece next to this is absolutely enormous. We are working towards getting it turned, but it is going to take a little while we can gather the equipment needed to do it safely. So if you fancy a quick look at it, I'll drag it over. And I do mean drag. Oh, jeez. Right, I'm not even going to attempt to alter the cameras to try and get it all into shot. But this is the piece that we're working on trying to get turned. It's a maple burl piece, and it's about 2.5 foot long, over 2 foot wide. It weighs 28 kilo, which is about 60 odd pound. And this lathe will take the weight, but I've got to have the equipment to be able to hold it onto the lathe safely first before I dare do anything with it. So stay tuned. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and when this happens, you'll get to see it. Right, okay, so back on to our beautiful little burl. Now, looking over the piece, we have an awful lot of very, very heavy and thick bark on this piece, and it has the indication to go in a reasonable distance into there. Now, looking at it from the side, we have bark up to the edges there, and on this side as well. So I did initially think about maybe moving the center to try and get the most out of it to eradicate this bark around here, but it's on this side as well, so there is very little point. So we're going to make a mark in the middle, go in with a drill for a worm screw, and we'll get it on the lathe. Okay, we're nice and safely on the lathe. I think the first order of business is to see where the wood is underneath all of this bark. As you can see, it's really, really quite hefty and thick. So if we can turn away a lot of this, then we'll see where it is and see what's happening, and then that'll give us an idea of what we can make. As I mentioned at the start, the one bit I am concerned about is this bark area coming in here. I can kind of glimpse into that area there, and that might be a few problems. So anyway, let's start getting this round, see what happens. Initially we're going to be turning at about 950 RPM, 3/8 inch ball gouge, and we'll see what happens. Okay, interesting start. We've taken a lot of the bark off. We still have an awful lot left. As I mentioned before, this is the real kind of problem areas. I don't mind dealing with a bit of bark when it comes to finishing towards the end, but that's an awful lot to deal with. So let's carry on a bit further and see what happens. Okay, it's certainly looking interesting, and I'm certainly, I wouldn't say scared, but I'm certainly worried as to how far this goes. See, that's all quite rotten there, so that needs to go. A lot of this certainly needs to go because it won't finish properly. It's too loose, it's too rotten, it's too flaky. So we have no choice but to carry on going deeper, take all this away until we can get to solid wood all the way around. Whether or not we'll get rid of this huge bark inclusion here, I'm not sure. But I need to know where the bottom of that is before we start hollowing out, because otherwise this whole edge here will only be held on by a small amount of wood there, and that wouldn't be very good. Okay, whatever was in there has flown out. Oh, that's all rot. That's all rotten in there. This is getting shallower. Right, I think it might be time to do a bit of exploring with a chisel or something. Let's take this out just to see what the extent of our problem is. Okay, we've done some excavation, and it's not terminal, but it's certainly not healthy. We've got a big hole there, and this is really quite deep. It's about the end of my finger. So that's the biggest problem we have to contend with. Now, above this area here, I reckon we've still got a good couple of inches of wood, which means that we can get something out of this. So I think we just continue going up here. We'll not worry too much about this area until we can get to solid wood all the way around here, and then we'll worry about what kind of shape we can do up the top, because we can't leave it like this. We could resin it, I suppose, but I prefer to try and finish it without having to use resin. Okay, removed about a half an inch there. We've still got probably about another half an inch to go, but there is definitely hope. We're exposing more of this beautiful burl, but we've still got to go further. Always slightly annoying when you think you're going to end up with a nice reasonable sized piece, and then you find lots of problems and it just gets smaller and smaller. But can't be helped, so we'll carry on. Okay, right, we're really starting to... Oh, geez, hang on. We're getting to the bottom of here and I can see a big hole. Okay, right, we're not going to turn that away. that hole goes right the way inside, so that is going to be a filler job. But that's okay. At least we know what we're playing with. Apparently the light at the end of the tunnel was an oncoming train. Right, now this hole we've got here, this is really quite serious. It's not terminal, but it's certainly serious. I can't turn it away because it's incredibly deep, and there would literally be nothing left, or just, you know, the faintest bit on the top by the time it's gone. So what do we do? I haven't got a clue. Well, I've got a few ideas going through my head at the moment, and I'm not quite sure exactly which one would be better. If I had all the time in the world, I'd pour resin in, wait till it to cure, and then turn it. But I don't have the luxury of that time to do that. So that would leave me with options of either leaving it as a big hole, which I don't necessarily want to do, because when we hollow this out, it's going to be all the way through the piece. I could deal with it then, I suppose. Now, the black filler I use, I've used it on smaller cracks. I've never used it on anything that size. So I don't honestly think, I don't want to try it for the first time on this piece on cracks that size, because it would need an awful lot of it. And any movement in the wood, it may come out, it may crack. I don't know what we'll do with it. I think what I should do now is just carry on turning as if it's not there. So we'll sort out this edge, we'll sort out a base, figure out what's happening there, and then at the end we'll make a decision on what to do with it, because we've still got quite a few other problems to try and solve. We've got all this area around here, so let's not worry too much about that quite yet. Okay, now those cuts were primarily me just trying to keep this as wide as possible whilst trying to eradicate a lot of this horribleness we've got going on there. So I was trying to take away this depth, which I think is working. In order, imagine this bit here, if we decide to get rid of it completely, we'd have to take the whole piece in by, that's probably about an inch, so it'd be an inch narrower, or it'd be 2 inches narrower, because it'd be an inch off either side, off each side rather. But if we go in this way, then we can nibble away at these edges, take away this, and we'll have a smaller live edge in this area, but we'll keep the overall width, and that'll work on that side as well. And that's kind of preferential in terms of the amount of real estate that we'll have in this piece for things to be put in it. So if we decide to go with that course of action and take it in more here, then that'll give us an idea of what we need to do with the rest of it to fit in with that shape. Now I've left a reasonable amount of wood here, wondering if I could turn it into an elongated foot, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think that I've got it a bit too narrow now, and also that would be too narrow for the piece to be stable, so the foot is probably going to have to be somewhere around there. It's all kind of, I guess you could call this kind of like reactionary turning. I'm not setting off with a definite plan at the start. We're just turning the wood, see what comes up, and then deciding what we can make out of it. I mean, the wood itself is absolutely beautiful. The burl pattern around here, as soon as we get a finish on it, is going to be absolutely gorgeous. So let's just keep going. Right, so we're going to come in more on this angle here to try and take away some of this rot, and then see how that looks once we get it to where we think it will take a polish, or a sand and a polish. Okay, so that's instantly looking doable. So is that side as well. Still a bit more to come away from there, but that's sorted so many problems that we had around there. What are you doing? So many holes in this piece. Now we've hacked away at this side and made it look a little bit nicer in terms of less rot and horrible things. Let's see if we can finish it into something which looks a decent shape with a better finish on it. So I think, what shall I do? I think I need to reduce this first of all, probably to around there, and then build up the shape from that. Okay, the wood under there is looking alright, although if anything, there seems to be a bit of moisture in there. I did think I felt a bit of moisture earlier on, and there definitely is. So I'll have to keep an eye on that. Right, so I think I can get away with that sized foot. Maybe just go a little bit smaller, maybe to that next step. And then we'll start evening it out, this curve between there and there, and see how that looks. We've lost an awful lot of the depth of this piece, but we've managed to keep an awful lot of the width, which is good. So it's still going to be a reasonable size at the end. Right, let's just lower this foot a little bit more, and then we can worry about the rest of this blending in. Okay, that's a nice size for the foot. So now we've just got to get this curve matching between there and there. I like this curve we've got over the top, so I'm just going to put a small radius between there and there. Okay, I think that cut has done us a world of good in terms of shape. I still need to do a bit of refining around this corner, so I may need to take another pass so I can pick up this curve. If I refine this area here that needs it, then it won't match the curve we've got from here. So I think I'll do another pass and then take it all the way up and round. Now there is definite moisture in this piece. You can feel it, you can smell it. That was probably the smell I got earlier on. But I'm going to have to deal with it now we're this far. So let's do another pass on this curve, take it up all the way around the edge, and see if that puts us in a good situation. Okay, I think that last cut there and a shear scrape has left us with a wonderful curve and a nice enough piece to be able to finish. Now, there is definite moisture in here, as I've said, so that's kind of making me worry a little bit about the order in which I do things. Now, if I was to sand this, finish it, and then come back tomorrow to finish it off, there's a chance that it could have moved a little bit and it would be out of round and would start having problems. So what I'm thinking of doing is quickly putting a recess in now, give it a partial sanding, turn it around, hollow it out, do another partial sanding, and then fill. And then when we come back tomorrow to finish it off, it's just purely left with sanding and then the finishing. Because we don't necessarily want to come back tomorrow and have to do more turning, because there's a reasonable chance that it'll dry out overnight and will move in some way. It'd be quite interesting to see exactly how much it moves, if it moves at all. So that sounds like a plan. We'll put a recess in. I'll do a basic sanding. I'll not make you watch that, and then we'll turn it around and then hollow out the inside. Okay, that's the recess in. I'm going to give this a quick cursory sanding. I'm not going to go very far. I'll bring you back in a second when we've turned it around and we can start seeing how deep this hole goes. Okay, now I did say I was going to bring you back once we've turned it around, but I just wanted to quickly put on a sealer on this just to see if I can start firming up some of these softer areas. Chances are it's all going to be sanded away again, but if we can just do a bit of good in the meantime while it's turned around. Plus, I really wanted to see what this is going to look like with the finish. Oh my goodness. I love this wood so much. You never know, if we can get it stable, we might not need to fill the holes. If we can just do a good enough job with this, we might be able to get away with it. Always worth bearing in mind. Okay, right, I'll let this dry and then we'll turn it around and we'll carry on with the other side. Okay, we turned it around, I've sharpened up, so we're ready to start hollowing out. I'm not quite sure exactly how thin I'm going to go on this one. The integrity of the wood beneath the surface is going to be a fairly major dictator on that, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, it's going well. We've got the cracks coming through as we expected. So we'll just keep on going, keep a very close eye on it. Okay, it's going well. The thickness isn't quite where we want it to be yet. It's probably about ½ an inch or a little bit less than that. So we want to go a little bit thinner. I'll try and leave a bit of mass in this center while I'm taking this down, and that will hopefully stop the outside flexing too much. Okay, I've just stopped and I've just measured that wall thickness there, and we've got it to about 1/4 of an inch, which is probably optimal for this piece. It's a little bit thicker here, so I need to bring this down a little bit, and then once we've got that all right, then we can worry about hollowing out the rest. Okay, yeah, that's got it. Right, excellent. Now we can start hollowing out the rest. Right, hopefully you can see on camera the difference in colour between the bit we've just turned away and this outside area. You can see fairly clearly the moisture on the surface and how fast it's drying. And all while that's drying, this is the forces in the wood are trying to turn against each other, pull in different ways. So I'm not saying this is quite a race against time, or a race against drying wood, but it is a little bit like that. All right, let's get the rest of this taken away. Okay, right, how have we done? Small inconsistency there, a little bit too thick there. Apart from that, it's pretty good. Right, I'm going to get in here with a scraper to sort out one or two of the minor issues, and then we can figure out what we're going to do with it. Okay, excellent. Right, I'm going to set up for sanding. It'll need sanding both sides. I'll let you watch a bit of it, and I'll bring you back when it's done. Okay, there we go. Sanding took a while, but we got there, and I think it looks absolutely incredible. I am bolstered in my decision to just put a finish on this and not worry about filling these. When you've got a piece as rustic as this and as beautiful, I think anything else we shove in it will just possibly detract. I could be wrong. It may be the wrong decision, but I do like those cracks. And the fact that you can see all the way through, I love it even more. Right, okay, so let's go on with a shellac sealer, just to help stabilise these areas. That grain is amazing. I know I turn an awful lot of burls, but They are incredibly wonderful and beautiful to work with. And all the money I make from doing this I put back into the channel, so I always try and find the most wonderful wood I can for you all to watch being turned and to enjoy as well. Right, let's do the back. Okay, right, I'm going to let this dry, then I'm going to cut it back with an abrasive pad, I think, and then we'll figure out what finish to put on. Okay, that's all nice and dry, so I'm going to go on with a 1000 grit pad just to smooth off the surface. You can't really use an abrasive paste on this because it'll get stuck in the holes and it'll be an absolute nightmare to try and get rid of. Okay, on with the final finish. This is the Howard Feed and Wax, which I've used many times before. It's a wonderful finish. It's ideal for this, especially given how many holes there are in it. So it's not going to leave like a waxy residue in the holes. It's just going to sit there and look beautiful. Mustn't forget the back as well. Right, the way this works is that we're going to let it sit on the surface for 20 minutes or so, and then we're going to come back and give it a buff up. For you lot, I will bring you back after we've buffed it up, after I've tied it up, because there's an awful lot of shavings around here, and then we'll take a final look at what we've done. Well, there we go. We've finally got there. A rather pretty Robinia burl bowl. The tightness of the burls that you get with Robinia really are quite incredible. They're absolutely minute, but there's so many of them. It kind of produces this amazing pattern that you could stare at for hours. I know this piece was a bit of a struggle, to put it mildly. There was certainly a couple of times when I was considering taking it off the lathe and putting something else on, but I decided to stick with it, to trust in the process. And I'm so pleased we did. I absolutely adore it. I think, for me personally, my own personal opinion is that it was best not to fill these cracks, because I think they add an awful lot of character to the piece. It would have lost if we'd filled them, because don't forget, if we'd filled these, we'd have had to fill all these little fissures as well for it to match. And I think that would have been too much. Now, I don't often name bowls, but I'm going to call this Harvest Moon for two reasons. First of all, we've just had the most wonderful large Harvest Moon around here. And also this wood has a very, very unique property. Alexa, turn off workshop lights. Look at that. Now, Robinia is the most fluorescent wood in the world. There's about 76 different species of wood that will fluoresce under UV, but this wood beats them all. And given that we've called this the Harvest Moon, I think it's quite applicable. Right, Alexa, turn on workshop lights. So there we go, the Harvest Moon bowl. Now I am going to sell this piece. I'm going to be putting it on the website, but I'm not going to be doing it for at least 2 or 3 weeks, because I want to let it dry out fully, just to ensure that there aren't going to be any problems going forward. I would hate to sell this to somebody and then have it crack and then be disappointed. So I want to make sure that it's fully stable before I sell it. So anyway, that's it for now. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, I would certainly appreciate a like and subscribe and all the usual things. And if you could share it as well, that would be absolutely amazing. Don't forget that if you leave a comment as well, then you are going to be entered into the giveaway the next time we do one. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank Jerry, Harold and Anne for supporting me this week through YouTube and through Buy Me a Coffee. If you do want to support the channel, there's always going to be links at the end and in the description. All the money raised from your support is put back into the channel to buy beautiful pieces of wood and the monster we have over there. But apart from that, thank you very much indeed for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Thank you.